So part of my opportunity this morning is to talk about a topic that I am super thrilled with and completely enamored by, and that is the topic of belonging. Now, what is belonging? I get asked that all the time, and I don't think I really understood what this was until about 2016. And if you think about the D&I space, we have been focusing on creating an inclusive culture, inclusive community, making sure that everyone can be their authentic selves, but we weren't moving the needle. We weren't creating those cultures. We weren't showing the representation. And I was asked one time to speak on a panel about D&I, and the moderator asked me how I felt about it. And no one's ever asked me as a talent leader how I felt about D&I. And so I paused because I really wanted to make sure that I was authentic in my answer. And so I said, give me time to really come back to you with some thoughts. We know that diversity is everything that makes you and I unique, from the seen and the unseen. And we talk a lot about gender and race and ethnicity, but there's other attributes that make us unique. Being left-handed, right-handed, introvert, extrovert, being adopted, our sexual orientation. There's so many things that make us who we are that we need to embrace who we are and love who we are. We know that for mental health, for our awareness, for our confidence. And so celebrating what makes us unique, what makes us common with one another is something that I pursue. Now, for all of you listening, do you recall when you don't belong? That sense of being other, not included? And when I was thinking about D&I realized when I wasn't included because of my gender. The first time that happened to me, I was 9, 10 years old. I was a tomboy. I had really short pixie haircut. My brother and I are 12 months apart, Irish twins. And I had my first crush with his best friend. And I thought it would be super fun to try out for Little League Baseball with my brother and his buddy and just spend the day with them because I was so enamored with this young man. And for the joke, they called me Bob to make sure that no one knew I was a girl. Little League did not allow girls at that time. And they're like always laughing and joking with me throughout the day. But somewhere during that day, I realized that I was good. I really was good. I could catch the ball. I could run. I could hit. I had so much fun on that field. And we're talking with over 100 people my age, boys my age. And I was like carrying my own load and having a great time. I was bloody. I was bruised. I was dirty from head to toe. And my smile was ear to ear. That was an amazing moment for me. And then after tryouts, I got picked for a team. I got picked for the Pirates. And I was super excited until my sisters yelled, "Yay, Patty." And the coach said, "Oh my, you can't be on this team. You're a girl." That crushed me. And my sisters became my advocate. They argued with the coach. They argued with the director of the Little League at the time, and they couldn't quickly discern whether or not girls were not allowed as an official rule or that I just wasn't wanted. Clearly I wasn't wanted, but I got on the Pirates, I got on the team, and I still wasn't wanted. This team did not like me. In fact, I'm a left-hander, and they chose me as a catcher. And in baseball, there's rare opportunity to get a mitt, a left-handed glove. So you wear it on your right hand, throw it with your left hand, and they're hard to find. And my parents were super excited for me. So they got me this left-handed catcher's mitt. It was a big deal for me. And within a week of being on this team, it got stolen. It was clear I wasn't wanted. That was when I realized how the sense of belonging impacts me. I wanted to be welcomed on that team, not only for my skills, because I had those. I had the skills, I'd proven my skills, but I was not wanted because I was a girl. I was less than for them. And that didn't feel good. And so belonging, what I learned since that moment, because I came back to that moderator and I said, look, D&I is necessary, but not sufficient. We need diversity in the workplace. We know we need it for innovation. We know it because it impacts our customers and our profitability in the market. We know the acts of inclusion are the verb. It's the inviting you into the dance fairly, respectfully, pay, fair pay, how I treat you. the programs, the training, those are all inclusive things we can do. But if I don't have that sense of belonging, then you don't unlock me, my superpowers. And what I also find that if we don't belong, we strive to fit in. Why is that so? Because we're genetically wired as human beings to fit in. We're genetically wired to fit in for survival, to thrive, for community, to have a family. We talk about raising our children with, it takes a village. I mean, we depend on others for our mental and physical health. And so we want to uniquely fit into that community. Hunters or gatherers, nurturers, whatever our role is in that community, we want to be respected and cared for and acknowledged for our contribution. Now, if you don't fit in, we waste countless cycles of our energy, mental energy to fit in. That is the dark side of belonging. We're so driven for this moment that we will mask who we are to be part of a team that really doesn't want you. And so if you're in the minority, you're spending time thinking about the jokes. Do they like sports? I don't. Maybe I should watch that football game. How do I dress in this community? How do I talk? How do I walk? I mean, we spend countless hours, cycles figuring this stuff out. That's not joyful. It wasn't for me. It's not for you. And we waste this time and this energy when we could be applying it to our creative powers at work, to our joy, at what we want to do and why we're there. And we know through Center of Talent of Innovation, the Center of Talent Innovation, that if you have a high sense of belonging based on their study, the output of that high sense of belonging is higher engagement, higher retention, higher talent brand, because people want to work with you. So that community of belonging, being welcomed in my unique, authentic way, is something that we should strive to create. Many of us don't know how, because that feeling of not belonging hurts emotionally and physically. That sense of not belonging actually triggers our brain in fight or flight way to make sure that we can survive. And so what if we create a healthier community at work that embraces the different, that leans into it, that celebrates it, that learns, have a growth mindset. And so we can recognize and celebrate what is in common, but also learn from what is different. That gets me excited. I also know that when you feel other in the organization, the masking that you do, the hidden you, becomes a burden for you. We know it. If you think about social injustice, if we think about Black Lives Matter, if we think about our political landscape, regardless of your political affiliation, if you feel like you're in the minority of whatever that thing is, you're going to be quieter, smaller than you typically wish to be. And that is so hard. And so companies are striving to create moments of learning, especially for the frontline managers, to empower all of us to have these courageous conversations with respect, to be able to have a disagreement on a point of view, but not a disrespectful conversation. To actually seek to understand, why do you say that? Why do you think that? Help me understand. Because that teaches all of us. The other thing I've learned in my journey is that diversity makes us smarter if we're willing to listen. So we only get smarter if we have that sense of belonging. Just seeing the other around me, but I'm not leaning into it, I'm not getting any smarter. But if I'm leaning into you, that's different. Your culture, your history, the industry you came from, whatever that aspect is, I gain more insight, I gain more knowledge. But also when we come into a business domain and have a conversation about a product, about a customer, about a market opportunity, because you think differently, because you come from a different point of view, I know as the presenter or the recommender that I'm going to do more research to anticipate perhaps some of your questions. I'm going to work harder to think about all those disparate voices around this virtual table to learn. And so by the time I get into that room, I have already learned. And then when I get into that room and have what Brene Brown will talk about as a rumble, I am actively listening because I'm not threatened by the difference of opinion. I'm actually asking for it so I can be stronger. We can be stronger. So how do you take something that is so genetically wired into all of us, into an organization, operationalize the sense of belonging at work, right? In your community? How do you do that? And that's really hard. And so I've spent some time listening. I have been looking at the research, and there's some amazing, amazing opportunities for all of us to manifest. Now, I do believe, and I know that when you give belonging moments to others, you get a higher sense of belonging. So when I welcome you to my team, that feels a little distant, but I welcome you to our team, that feels inclusive. When I introduce you to our team, how do I do that? If I'm introducing Jana to the team, do I say Jana works in PR and comms? Her title is this, and this is her resume. Or do I say Jana is this amazing human being? Did you know she just got married? Do you know that she is so fun? That she loves riding horses or writing songs, that she's super creative, and she happens to be this amazing comms guru. Like, that is freaking awesome. Introduce the human, not their title. I have switched titles, I have switched jobs, but I'm Pat. I'm Pat at the grocery store. I'm Pat in my kitchen dancing to some music. I'm Pat here on the Zoom. That's who you want to meet, not the CHRO of Procore. Now, although I'm super excited about my new gig, I've been in it all of 2 weeks, but that's not me. That's not me. So who are you? How do you want to be introduced? How do you start your day, your team, your community with knowing who you are? That is super, super amazing when you get to do that. When you get to pause and talk about your journey, we know that builds tighter teams, builds trust, gives me an understanding of your personality. You're an introvert, I'm an extrovert. Actually, I'm an introvert too. But if you get to know me, we can have more fun together. Now, what's happening today with COVID is that we are disproportionately impacting women at work and caregivers at work. That's a problem because in this limelight of COVID, especially for caregivers, is that we cannot find solutions that fit 90, 100% of those cases. And so women at work, or the primary caregivers, are feeling the strain of otherness, of not having the flexibility, and in fear of their career and their opportunities. And we're losing amazing women at work at a disproportionate rate now than ever before. And if I lose you at work, if we don't adapt to include you, to embrace you, to adapt in this moment, we won't have the future leaders for tomorrow. And that, to me, is an unacceptable outcome. So how do I embrace everyone during unusual times, to adapt, to lean in, to show compassion? Because when we show compassion, we are stronger. Now, in the beginning of COVID and with social injustice, what I found everyone talking about is empathy, and having a sense of empathy in the community, and bringing people in and having these conversations. But empathy alone is not sufficient. Kind of like D&I, without belonging doesn't really work. Empathy on its own is that I have feelings, I understand your pain, and that's it. It's like a monk going up a mountain and seeing someone with a huge rock on their chest and saying, I feel that pain. I feel like I can't breathe. That's empathy. And then the monk walks away to the finishing his journey. And that, to me, is not the solution for today. That is not how we create a belonging culture. We need compassion, and compassion is empathy. Start with understanding it's painful, but then take action. So empathy plus action is compassion. Remove the rock, seek to understand, gather help each other out, because I know you can create a belonging culture in your organization by first tone at the top, get the right leaders in. So I can see someone like me, someone that has similar experience as me, that has an awareness of me, can see me for who I am. And I feel like I belong just based on that. It sets a tone. Walk the talk. Use language that is inclusive. Introduce the human. Amplify your managers, train your managers. If I've learned anything this year, it's that the magical middle is the manager. Empowering them with the right language, the right storytelling, introducing the human, not the role, because we're such a dynamic organization around this world. And then the best part about this is that your peers can give belonging moments to each other. They create your belonging moment. I did a hackathon a few years back at LinkedIn, and we used different themes for these university students to come in and crack the nut in terms of problems at work. And one of these teams that did this all night hack with us said they wanted friends. They wanted chums at work. And I'm like, why chums? And their presentation was talking about the power of friends at work. And if you have a friend at work that cares about you, that has your back, that knows when you're down, pulls you up, that appreciates you and shares gratitude with you, you're more likely to be your authentic self at work. So what I'm asking all of us is to pause, reflect, have gratitude, think about our purpose at work, think about our friends. And if you don't have a friend, how can you make a friend? How can you be a friend to others? More importantly, my mom used to say is to give is to get, and I never understood it. I really didn't. And then one day I was volunteering at Second Harvest Food Bank at a soup kitchen, and it was the wrong day, wrong time for me. I was super busy. My kids were going nuts, because you're only as happy as your least happiest child, by the way. And so I was having a rough time, but I made a commitment. And so I went to the soup kitchen, and within an hour, I had gratitude. I realized that by giving to this community, I felt better, that they were asking who I was. In return, I got to know them. I made friends. I had such an amazing belonging moment. That is what I seek every day. Now let's go back to that little league me. And I was devastated when they stole my mitt, but I wouldn't quit. And so I learned how to catch with my left hand, take off my mitt and throw with my left hand. And eventually I was able to get somebody out at second. We won a game. And for the first time on that team, they celebrated me. They thought I was their secret weapon. They invited me to pizza. They returned my mitt. I felt like I belonged on that team. That was the most joyful moment in my young life. And I've been pursuing that feeling of community, being quirky me, the rest of my life. And behind me, I found this recently. This is my little league trophy that I got from baseball that reminded me of the grit, of the passion I need to belong. And so my wish for all of us is to find the way that you belong in your authentic self, that you learn to operationalize these things, to include everyone in who they are, their authentic way. Find a friend, give a friend, connect a friend. Follow the values and the purpose of who you are. Be authentic. Don't mask. We don't have to. And by not masking, you will create a shadow opportunity for everyone that follows behind us to be us, to laugh, to cry, to express that we're frustrated about our babies, or we're in postpartum depression, or it's my 27th wedding anniversary today. We can celebrate life when we're authentic. When we're feeling like we have to mask, we hide all those elements and we lose the joy. So thank you for this moment today with all of you to talk about belonging. I hope all of you find a friend, find a moment, learn to be the most wonderful, authentic self, and practice introducing the human and not what we do. Thank you so much for this time.